So, Manuela, your film takes place in 1976 in Chile. It's in the beginning of the Pinochet regime. And you yourself was born a few years later, I think.
Yes.
But what made you decide that your first feature film was going to take place in this particular year?
So the film is inspired on my grandmother. And my grandmother died that year. I never met her. Yeah, I was born in the 80s. But I was very curious about this woman that was my mom's mother, because I always heard stories of her when I was a child, and it seemed to me that she was a very interesting woman, and I started, putting all these pieces together, these different stories that I was hearing. And I discovered that she, after she was a housewife, she got married at 18 and had 3 kids. But after this, she was, following what any women from the 50s should have, done in a way, which wasn't, there wasn't much options. No? There was this few. It was really limited what you could do as a woman. But then she went into art school. And in fact, in the house, we used to have pieces of art that she had done during art school, but she never finished. And I discovered that she died in 1976, really depressed. And the family was talking about this depression as something personal, as something like almost part of her own personality, but not considering that 76 was one of the worst years or brutal years of dictatorship in Chile. So I started wondering about this depression and how, we sometimes think of things as something personal instead of considering the social context.
And even if the film takes place a few decades ago in this specific time in Chilean history, can you see that the themes of the movie are still resonant in the time that we are living in now? And was there anything that affected you in making this film?
Yeah, a lot of things for me. It was a long period. A long process, and things were changing in Chile as well, because it was 7 years of work. And when I started writing, I think Chile was a different country. I think that we were under this very strong neoliberal system, but all this, I think it exploded with the social outburst 3 years ago, and I think this was really important as it was a huge, social paradigm shift, I think. And then I also thought that, that how democracy is so fragile everywhere, not just in Chile, but everywhere. No? Because after this, we also had a very strong extreme right candidate. That was, the country was very divided as well after a social outburst. So things were, really ununderstandable. It was really hard to interpret society, but you could really feel how democracy is such a, fragile thing, and I felt that it was really important to revisit history over and over. Also because I think we have this huge wound in Chile because we never judged the responsible of dictatorship. So I think we will always have, kind of a debt with history.